Good morning, Mr. Flourish. Hope you are well. I'm recording my area or instructional area of challenge. I'm going to present here. Hope this works. I don't know if you can still see me. I'm not sure. Hopefully you can. Either way, here to talk about a lesson that I basically changed and revamped because from one class to another because it was important. And I'll tell you why at the end. Assignment was to focus on an area of challenge within my teaching practice. So something that I had that, where I was teaching a lesson and I said, hey, this is not working. I got to move some things around. I got to get these kids to understand it. So I'm just providing you right now with a quick little overview of what happened. So the lessons that I had established was a sleep lesson. We were talking about sleep and the importance of sleep for freshmen. Question of the day was, how is your sleep pattern? You like it or dislike it? Just get the kids thinking about it. We had a conversation with the students in the lesson. So I just asked students some questions. I said, talk about amongst your table. Then I went through and kind of shared about it a little bit in the first lesson and provide answers based on their questions. Their instruction was to record a sleep study of over 3 days. They have to answer some reflection questions on it, and they have to do notes from a video. I think a 9, 10, 11-minute video, something like that we had that we were watching on sleep. It was a TED Talk. And then the students were to share share with the group 5 takeaways from the video towards the end of it. So it's kind of what I started with my lesson was. Pretty basic, not much to it. Again, getting the kids thinking themselves and getting them thinking in groups, and then talk about the assignment that goes with it, and then kind of some takeaways at the end to kind of conclude it. So that's kind of where I was at with my lesson. Then next, I didn't like it, so I made some changes, and I'll tell you why those are in a second. So question of the day, I added discussion. Let the kids talk about it real quickly, just at their little pods and their little groups. So it was one of those things that, again, got them thinking about it right away, but now they can voice it. Maybe, hey, something they like about it, dislike about it. And I even shared a little bit after the first hour too about, hey, did any of you guys dream? Pillows. How many pillows you guys use when you sleep? Just to get them thinking a little bit about it. It was kind of bland the first time, so I was like, I want to add more to it. Second part was conversation. Instead of giving the 5, 10 questions and just letting them kind of ask or talk about all of them, we did, a question at a time. And I adjusted. I said, all right, one question. Let's talk about it for 30 seconds to a minute, maybe a minute and a half, depending on the question. Amongst your group, have a spokesperson and share out with the class. So that was a very effective tool because it got kids to hear other solutions or other things that they might use in their sleep, which was a good thing. Then we did so that was a change. And then the third part for the introduction of the video and whatnot, I provided examples, which was a big thing because some of these kids had lots of questions after that first hour, like, hey, what do we do for this day? When can we turn this in? How do we go about doing this? We reflect on that. And so I said, let's do an example. Let's go through one. So I made it so they understood, and I actually shared that with my student teacher as well. I just said, hey, just one of those things that you need to do is what we reflect as teachers. That's when you learn most. Teachers, and even when I'm coaching as well, as you know, as you get the kids to reflect. But I said, hey, give an example when you give out assignments. It's definitely more beneficial because he was showing me a workout assignment that he had. And that he was putting together for his, and I said, put an example in there. It's super beneficial. So that was another adjustment I made to my lesson. And again, I do this a lot of times. I'd make a lot of adjustments with my lesson, but it's pretty basic, pretty standard, I guess, for me to do it. But it's always good for me to teach different ways. And then last piece, the reason I made the changes, I want to make sure I'm clear with those. So I was unhappy with student behavior. The first hour, I was like, okay, we can do more than this. This is more to it. And I don't want these kids getting off task. I want them to stay on task and start to get loud and obnoxious a little bit. So I was unhappy with that. I was unhappy with the response. There was not a lot of responses because kids were trying to remember back and reflect back to what they first taught, one of those 5, 10 questions that we asked. Because each hour was different with questions a little bit, depending on time. So there was some kids responded, some kids didn't, but I was just unhappy with the way they responded. When it was one question at a time, it was a lot more simple. Students just naturally start sharing about sleep pattern, and wanted them to be able to share out, which is a big piece. It's good for them to share out. I shared, a story of my sleep patterns. It was good for all of us too. So that's another one. Asking students to share about multiple questions at once was too much. The standards were more understood, when I did it the second, third, fourth, fifth time in my lesson. So the first time, not so much, but I wanted to understand the importance of that sleep as freshmen in their life, in their career, healthy lifestyle, and it's more reflection upon it. So that's why the standards were a lot more understood in the second through fifth hour. You always wish you go back and say, man, I wish I get that first hour but I'll reflect back on it in the next year or next time we do it. Provided all types of learning styles to be learned. So we got some examples, we got some visual, we got some auditory, we got some kinesthetic learning that was going on. So that was examples with, me showing examples of what it looks like on the board, talking through them. Maybe they can see things. So that was a good thing. And then for me is they get a more clear understanding expectation of what is intended to be learned. So it was more understood of what their process of the learning was. So either way, those are I made lots of changes. And again, this is something I do a lot. And I try to reflect on my teaching every hour just because it's one of those things that you want these kids to be taking something away from what you're doing. And if I'm just going through the motions, I'm not doing my job. So I'm trying to always change and revamp. And again, this is my third year in a row teaching this thing, and I continue to make changes just because it's super good for you to do that. And if you're going about being that boring teacher, it's going to be boring for the kids, and the kids are going to go, why am I here? So I want them to enjoy their lesson. So either way, that's my presentation, and we'll go from there. Hope you have a great day, and talk to you later, Coach.